So I found this awesome little canyon, and I thought there's no way I can be right here and not try flying through this canyon. So that's what I did. I got all set up on the edge of the canyon and gave my airplane a toss. It was a very pretty day. It was really calm and just lovely to go out and fly over these mountains. And there was this neat little stream running through the bottom, and it was filled with a bunch of beaver dams, and so it was just a really neat thing. And the canyon kind of got tight and narrow, and I thought that would be really neat to see if I could fly down inside that narrow canyon area. So here you see I'm now on the opposite side of the canyon from where I launched, and I'm just cruising over the top of these trees heading up the canyon so that I can find a good spot to line up and then turn around and make my run down through this canyon. With the losing of altitude and everything, I ended up going a lot faster than I was anticipating. You can see I'm going over, mid 50 mile an hour there. There's over one of those beaver dams. And so it was super fun, but with the added speed that I had, I didn't get quite as deep down into that canyon as I had hoped to, but it was still just a really neat thing to do. So then I came out here over the reservoir for a moment, get a good look at the dam and down that canyon. That's the canyon we had to drive up to get to this location. And here I've turned back around and I'm looking up this little canyon that I had just flown down. So here I am back at the top of that canyon again, getting ready to make another run. I wanted to see if I could get myself down a little bit deeper into the canyons, try and get those trees going by, with the tops of the trees a little bit above me rather than me still being kind of over the top of the trees. You can see more beaver dams right there. And here I'm trying to push the nose of the airplane down to get myself down deeper in here to get more of a canyon run feel. It was a lot of fun with the trees cruising past me. I still didn't get as low as I had originally wanted to, but that was kind of my being just overly cautious. I didn't want to run into a tree and destroy my airplane. Those trees can come up on you pretty quick. But as you can see, it's just a beautiful area, really green. We've had a lot of moisture this past winter and spring. It was a lot of moisture, so everything is still very, very green and lush and just really beautiful to fly over. Out over the reservoir again, it was just glassy smooth for most of our stay. I even got my little UMX timber out with some floats on it, and I flew off of the lake a little bit because it was just so nice and smooth, and I couldn't pass up that opportunity. And here I am going back up that canyon again. This time just kind of over on the opposite side, trying to get a little more view of all the trees and just the forest here, and just kind of cruising along, enjoying the calmness. It was just so calm that it was really enjoyable to just kind of cruise along and enjoy the scenery. So then here I get to the top of the run here. So I had a spotter, and my spotter would tell me when I was getting too far away I didn't want to go behind trees from where I was sitting and lose any of my signals. So that was about as far as I could go. And so this run again, I'm trying to push myself down deeper into the canyon to really get the feel for it. But it's also kind of hard when you're doing almost 50 miles an hour to have the courage to really get down in between the trees, just because you don't know how quickly one of those branches might jump out and grab you. But just so beautiful flying over all of these little beaver dams and through all the brush. So another thing I had noticed when we were setting up here is that there's these red cliffs off in the distance, and I got to thinking, well, you know, I want to see if I can make it all the way over to those red cliffs. So I started doing a little bit of kind of testing the waters, I guess you could say. I wanted to see how well I could climb up above this peak and up above these ridges to see what the wind was going to do. So I did that, and I got a good feel for all of that, and feel for being up a little bit higher. And once I felt like everything was still running nice and smooth, and the air even up higher was nice and calm, I decided, you know what, I'm going to point myself towards that red cliff and see what I can see by jumping out there to it. So I've of course sped up the video because it was still quite a ways out there. But here we're starting to get closer. You can see here's some more little ponds, or just kind of natural places where the water is collected. Getting closer to that red cliff now. So you see I'm almost 2.5 miles away from where I am sitting, and I'm still getting just an excellent video feed, and my ELRS receiver link has just been rock solid this whole time. And here I get to these just beautiful rock formations. The red in it just really popped, and just the structure there was super cool. I was talking to my spotter just about how amazing it was, and how I was so glad that I decided to stretch it out and fly out here. And there we see a couple more ponds over on the other side of the ridge. I was tempted to go fly over those too, but I didn't want to go too far past the ridge and lose my line of sight, which would then lose my connection. So playing it safe, I turned around and decided, well, I'll do one more cool run right past this beautiful cliff again. And all this footage is just coming straight off of my Avatar Walk-Snell camera. I don't have a GoPro or any action camera on the airplane. I just do all of my recording straight off of that camera, which is just excellent because it saves me a lot of weight. And I love the 1080 resolution. I don't care to have 4K or anything. So the Walk-Snell setup has just been working excellent for me. I love the clarity and just all the beauty that you're able to see with the digital system. Here you can see as we're flying back towards camp that that lake is just like a perfect mirror. It was just so nice and smooth, which does not give any indication as to what is about to happen. It was just such a perfect, calm flight this entire time. Everything was so nice and smooth. And here in just a moment, I get hit with a really severe wind that makes getting back to my landing spot rather difficult. So right here my goal was to fly past where I'm sitting and get a kind of a view of where I'm going to land. And now you're going to see how the wind starts throwing me all over the place. You can see on the left side of my screen there, my throttle is at 97%, and I never fly with that much throttle. I'm usually flying, I'm usually cruising around 50% throttle, and I needed 90% just to move across the ground. The wind just picked up out of nowhere and was really throwing me around. But so that pass there was to get an idea of where I was going to land, because I was so excited to fly, I hadn't really planned my landing. It's easy to get in the air when you just hand launch, and so you got to take thought as to where you're going to land. So anyway, I did that pass to get a feel for that. So now I'm back over the lake, and I'm debating whether or not I should just stay up and circle for the next 10-15 minutes and see if the wind decides to die down. You can see up in that top left corner I've used 3,270 milliamps or so. I have 5,000 milliamps in the airplane, so I still have a good deal of battery life left. And so I was debating trying to wait out the wind and see if maybe that would be the safer option. But I decided that I was just going to try and bring it in and land it with the wind. The wind was coming down the canyon, so I'm currently flying into the wind, and you'll see that I'm making very slow progress back towards where I need to be. And so I thought, well, if it stays somewhat consistent, then I can basically get to my landing spot and sort of hover it to the ground, because the wind will be pushing so hard. So I thought, well, it's worth a shot. So you can see here, though, that it was quite the fight. You can see that the airplane is really getting thrown all over the place, and this is a very stable airplane, so it's pretty rare that I'm in a condition where it's getting tossed back and forth as hard as it is now. But I'm just trying to bring it up this canyon, trying to not be overly aggressive with it, but just bring it in to where I can just kind of set it down on this side hill. We kind of spotted some sagebrush that looked to be fairly soft, and so that was kind of the goal. And then my spotter's calling out where all these little saplings are so that I can avoid them. And so there you see it. It basically just dropped right on top of a sagebrush because the wind was blowing so hard. But it was an excellent flight, and I really enjoyed it.